Hey, they got the best fans in college baseball. I think anybody would say that. They have the biggest support, one of the most beautiful stadiums in the country. They treat their players, very well. It's great. I think it's great LSU's here. It means a lot to college baseball. For the fans, there's no other fans like LSU fans that at least I've been on the other side. 98, 2000, when Brad Hopp hit the home run against Mark Pryor at Rosenblatt, and then again in 2010 when Paul and his team came out for the regionals. They travel anywhere, anytime, and it's just, like I said, a privilege to play against them, and I think it's great for college baseball that they support their program as well as they do.
What would be your response to a proposal restricting pitch counts?
I would be against that proposal. Was that your question? I would be against that. I don't think it's necessary. Dang. Because I think there are college coaches throughout the country who know what they're doing and who have their best interests of their players at heart, both on and off the field, and after they're playing at their particular university. That's been my take on my 15 years at this level and my prior years at Division III. I do not think that's necessary.
Tough question. I understand why you're asking it, and there was something said, I think, a couple of weeks ago or something, so I understand the question. But tough to answer. I just kind of concur with Mike that I would be against it. As college coaches, we know what we're doing. It may not always seem like that, and it's not always about a certain pitch count as well. It's about the weather and time in between innings, and a long inning and in some tough innings. Did he get out of some jams, or was he cruising, and how did he get to a certain count? And coaches like to win. There's no question about it. They win for their players. They win for their former players. But I don't think any coach is going to put a kid out there in jeopardy when no matter what's on the line. So I think we can have discussions. I think we can talk about some things, but I certainly don't think it's necessary.
The park obviously plays a lot different than Rosenblatt did. It's not sitting up on a hill where the wind's galing out all the time. So pitching and defense are going to be paramount, being able to manufacture runs. Fortunately for all of us, the game has changed, whether we're playing at TD Ameritrade or Alec Box Stadium or whatever field these guys are playing at. The game has changed. I mean, that's just the way it is. There's not a lot of home runs anymore. You have to pitch and play defense. All these teams are here because they pitch and play defense. If you can't hold the other team down, you're not going to make it to Omaha, and you've got to be able to find a way to manufacture some runs. So I don't think the adjustment is going to be that big for any of us. Yeah, now I haven't coached a game in TD Ameritrade Park yet, but I may be wrong about this, but I think the field's going to probably play very similar to the way the field in Hoover, Alabama plays, where we play the SEC tournament. It's a spacious park. There's not many home runs hit, and it comes down to the fundamentals of the game.
The history here of the teams that have made it here, whether it was Rosenblatt or here, they were always one of the top, the 8 top pitching teams and defensive teams in the country, and the statistics bore that out. And Paul's exactly right. The game has changed, and you have to decide early on if you want to try to play for a run, if you just want to try to get ahead. And I think here, especially, having a really good outfield and trying to keep balls out of the gap, because if you hit a ball in the gap here and a guy can run it all, it's most certainly a double, but potentially a triple. So maybe scouting reports, maybe the wind, having a center fielder obviously that can run, which everybody does nowadays, and being able to cut those balls off and keep them to either singles or doubles is very important. But you have to pitch out here and not walk people. There's no question about that.
We haven't played a game out here, but I've just tried to get as much research as I could done, and I understand it is a different park. Plays very, very spacious in the outfield. Sometimes if you got fast outfielders that you feel can go back and get the ball, much like Paul Blair when he played for the Orioles, that you'll play him shallow, try to cut off some base, catch some singles, line drives that might fall in, and maybe throw a guy out of the plate. So it could change the way you play things according to your team speed and team defense. But as Paul said, it makes the game come down more to fundamentals. And obviously there's no team here that's not fundamentally sound. So it's going to be baseball at its best and maybe old-time baseball at its best, and you're going to have to win a game with very, very few mistakes.
It needs to be a detailed game. It needs to be a clean game if you're going to have a chance to win. If you are sloppy, defensively or base running or not throwing strikes, then, more likely you're going to have a difficult time. So it's definitely different. We all know that. The game has changed. We know that. But they're, you're looking at LSU numbers. I don't know. Some of those numbers still look somewhat familiar to they looked a couple years back. So there are some offensive players that are still out there. I mean, there's no doubt, and there's some physicalness to some teams that are still here. So we're not one of them. We hit 250 as a team, and that's we better be sharp, or else it's just that 3-run homer's not around the corner like it used to be. So it's a detailed game, and I think everybody will be able to realize that after you play a few games on this field.
We always saw the potential in Jacoby, of course. He's always had bat speed and great physicalness to him. And, he just, when he chases bad balls, he gets himself out. When he lays off bad pitches and gets good pitch to hit, he generally can do something with it, and it's usually good stuff. This past weekend, he was phenomenal. And I honestly, he may not admit this, but I think the draft kind of took a little pressure off him after he was finally selected. He was picked in the 3rd round. Everybody had thought he'd be a first-rounder going into the year. Didn't have that kind of year, and fell to the 3rd round. But 3rd round's still something pretty special. And after the draft was over, I just saw him become a lot more relaxed and carefree and having fun. And he single-handedly carried us offensively this weekend. He hit the big triple off Gray in the 8th inning to get our winning rally started. Once the ball was in the gap, I knew it'd be a triple with his speed. And then, of course, he came home. And then the next day, the 4-hit game. So fortunately for us, he's played great defense all year. He's done other things that have helped us win, and we just have been kind of waiting for the bat to come around. And just lately, his confidence has grown, and he's laying off bad pitches. He's become a much, much more difficult out.